post-independence era. So post-independence era, what happened in the post-independence era? Nationalization and expansion happened. So during this time, 1947 to 1990, okay, nationalization started. So socio-economic development and financial inclusion was the main target. These were the main target. Okay. So socio-economic development and financial inclusion happened. Okay. So Banking Regulation Act came into existence. Banking Regulation Act 1949, and we know what it is. Okay. And it has taken RBI as the regulatory body. The regulatory body, and it is our central bank also. It is the regulatory body as well as it is the central bank. Okay. RBI was nationalized during that time. So nationalization of now those three presidency banks, Bank of Bombay, Bank of Calcutta and Bank of Madras, merged to form what? Imperial Bank of India. And then what happened? This Imperial Bank of India was converted into our well-known State Bank of India. Okay. So those three presidency bank merged to create Imperial Bank of India. This Imperial Bank of India further converted into State Bank of India. Then nationalization of 14 major private banks to increase the rural credit. So during that time, 14 major private banks were formed to increase rural credit. Because State Bank, it's formed, but to reach the, I've seen the financial inclusion, right? So to have the financial inclusion to reach the rural area, 14 major private banks were nationalized. Then government control on 91% of banking assets. But the banking used to, the government used to control the 91% of the banking asset. Why? Because they wanted to make sure that the public deposits, the depositors' interest is safe. So a full control over the banking assets. Then what happened? Liberalization and modernization happened from 1991 to 2000, where the innovations started interfering in the banking system. So what happened? The economic reforms led to the deregulation of banking sector. Now, as we have seen, the government used to control 91% of banking asset. That means government has a lot of control over what's happening, right? So then need was felt that a lot of monitoring, a lot of interference happening from government side. So deregulation has came into existence in the banking sector. So to give a bit of freedom to the banks or the banking sector to operate. So entry of private sector banks like ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank, Axis Bank happened during that time. Apart from that, introduction of foreign banks also like Citibank and HSBC, it also, they also entered Indian market. A Standard Chartered, okay, there are a few more as well. Then use of technology started with ATMs, okay, bit of move towards digitalization also, and increased competition improved banking. This is the major point. So when we have seen that private sector banks came, and we know that private sector banks are mainly aimed towards gaining more and more profits. So when to earn more profit, that means you need to understand your customer demand, that what your customer need, right? So to meet the customer demand, they started focusing on innovation. They started focusing on technology. So when the competition is huge, there are a lot of banks in the market. Everyone is competing to gain more and more customers. So involving innovation, understanding customer demand has bettered the banking facility. So it has improved the banking services in the country. Okay. So in liberalization, what is meaning of liberalization? Liberalize or giving more scope to the banks to grow. and modernization, using the modern approach to do the banking instead of the traditional approach. So because of which the banking system has evolved so much, giving so much flexibility to the banks to do the operations. Then the contemporary period, which is current period we have, which is going from 2000 to present, digital transformation and financial inclusion. Financial inclusion has been a very big target since starting, because the main target, when a country want to grow, it cannot grow only by focusing on the urban area. We need to focus on the rural area as well, the people who are living in the remote areas. So this financial inclusion will be our target till the time we are providing the banking facility to each and every person possible. So digital banking, okay, all these are part of what? Digital banking. So digital banking emerged, as we have seen in the evolution of banking in world also. So what's happening in overall world has impacted India as well. So emerging of ATMs, UPIs, wallets has started working in India. Then fully digital banking platforms like Neo and Jupiter. So we have heard about Neo banks, right? Means which doesn't have any physical branch. They are only operating digitally. So few examples are like Neo and Jupiter. So these are types of banks who doesn't have a physical branch, but you still can have their, I mean, you can enjoy the banking facility without having a physical establishment. Okay. So these neo banks are contemporary, as well as in future it's going to even more grows in our Indian system. Then financial inclusion initiative like Jan Dhan Yojana. Jan Dhan Yojana started by government. Why it is needed? It needed to do the financial inclusion. So a zero balance account, okay, no frills account were opened for the people. So when you have a bank account, it is assumed that you are going to deposit some money in the bank. So you need to have a minimum balance over there. But in case of Jan Dhan Yojana, because it is targeting the rural people, they were not expected to having a minimum account there, but to promote savings. It was mainly for promote savings. It is mainly to introduce them with the banking system. So their accounts were linked to Aadhaar card, so that they can also take the advantage of what's happening in the banking era, how they can facilitate the banking services. They can avail loans, they can start their businesses, small businesses, they want to trade, or they want for their personal expenses, they want credits. Everything is possible through banking. That's what was supposed to be introduced to them. That's why Jan Dhan Yojana was came into existence. Then Aadhaar linked accounts were the things. When Aadhaar linked accounts means, earlier people used to have different account in different banks, and it was very difficult to track down unless the PAN system, personal account number, and Aadhaar was there. So to reduce down the frauds, to reduce down the tax evasion and all, then Aadhaar linked accounts were introduced, and then direct benefit transfer, that is DBT. We know nowadays government has so many benefits given to people, handicap benefit, or for the like Ladli Behan Yojana. So what happens there? The government provides some funds to the needy people. So instead of earlier, what used to happen, they used to give it to the sponge, and Sarpanch used to distribute it to the people in his village. But now directly people can enjoy that money in their accounts because of the Jan Dhan Yojana. They have their own accounts, and this direct benefit transfer is linked because the Aadhaar is linked. So the identity is matched, and then the amount is deposited in their zero balance account. So now they don't need to deposit money. Government is depositing money for them monthly or yearly according to their scheme they provide, and directly these people, the rural people, are getting the benefit out of it. Then merger of banks. Merger of banks happened. One example is the Vijaya Bank and Dena Bank. They merged into Bank of Baroda. Why it is being done? To reduce down the number of banks operating in India, and so that the major banks can play the main role, and a lot of regulation restriction can be pulled down. Now, when only few handful banks are going to operate in the country, the regulation by RBI also becomes much lesser. Instead of monitoring so many banks, they have to monitor only few banks, and those few banks can have a larger reach. So merging of, there are so many, State Bank of Patiala, State Bank of, all these banks are now merged to form only State Bank of India. So these mergers are happening so that these small banks can merge into a one big bank and have a vast number of customers under one roof, so that a uniform service can be provided to everyone. Now come to the last part, that is emerging trends in Indian banking. Emerging trends means what's coming next, what is there. So focus on green banking and sustainable finance. Like in the whole world, we are talking about sustainability. There are so many things going on toward the sustainability of, when we are focusing on our environment, right? And saving the things for our future generation. So sustainability has forced us to go green banking and having a sustainable finance. There are so many things happening in this area where green banking has, no, I mean, it is now in many cases, it is now part of their CSR activity, corporate social responsibility, towards the society, towards the environment, to save it from the hazards which are going to come. So this is the upcoming trend. It's going on right now as well, but it has to work a lot more toward the sustainability. That's why it's still emerging. It's at the initial stage of it. Then adoption of central banking digital currency, which is a new thing from RBI. Okay, RBI is starting a central bank digital currency. Now, as we have moved toward digital currency, so a bit of regulation in the digital currency area also has to introduce by RBI. Because if we talk about digital currency and investment, Bitcoin also has came up. So when these things are happening, people are transacting in digital instead of physical currency. So are we really relying on printing more currency, or how it's going to work? So this regulation also RBI is working on, and in future we'll see a centralized bank or centralized formation of digital currency. Then expansion of international banking operation. The banks which are currently operating in the country are moving towards internationalizing the services which they have in India. There are so many innovations which are being done in our country which has to be internationalized. And greater emphasis on cybersecurity and data privacy. So when we are moving from the traditional approach to the modern approach using technology, we know a lot of fraud is happening, and all these major frauds are linked towards money extraction. So phishing and all are happening. You might have seen a lot of RBI, other bank keep on sending you, alerts that how you can save yourself from the digital frauds. People ask for OTPs, people calling and asking you for other things. Digital arrest is a new thing which is coming up. So a lot of regulation has to be done to save the people, because our main purpose is to safeguard depositors' interest on money, right? To save this, we need to work on the cyber security, how we can save our money from these fraudsters, and data privacy. Data privacy also a very big challenge. Our data which we are providing in form of our Aadhaar card, PAN card, or other details submitted to various organizations are not safe because of the data leakage. Some other organization take these data for their own benefit and exploit this data. So cybersecurity and data privacy, mainly when it comes to banking, is very important, because the money of general public is at stake. So these are the upcoming area in the banking sector. So with this, we came to of end of understanding that how banking system has evolved in the world and in India.